Dear students, welcome in the class of English Literature. I am Dr. Sumer Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Lohia College, Churu. Uh, Today, in the class of BA Part 3rd, subject English Literature, Paper 2nd, Prose and Fiction, we will study the essay The March of Mind. The essay March of Mind is written by Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. The essay is basically a speech delivered by Radhakrishnan at the occasion of convocation of a university, and at that occasion he was a chief guest, and he delivered this lecture upon the problems of modern India, or we can say the problems of India after independence. Being an educationist, Radhakrishnan's main focus is on the educational problems or the economical problems along with political problems, and he says that education is the solution of all these problems, or we can say that education can solve all these problems. So this essay is very important essay, and the title of this essay is The March of Mind. It means the progress of mind, the development of mind. So Radhakrishnan, as we know that as a great politician, eminent scholar, or a great philosopher, and in the field of education, he is also a well-known personality. His birthday, 5th of September, is also celebrated in India as the Teachers' Day. So this essay, from the point of education, is very important, and the title is also symbolic and suggestive. The march of mind. It means the development, the training, or the proper progress of mind, and the proper progress of mind is possible in the colleges and universities because these are the centers of higher education. So this essay is very important, and the main idea, as I have told you, that the major problems of the field of education, of the field of political science, economics in India after independence. So this is the essay. Radhakrishnan starts this essay or this speech thus: May I at the outset express with deep sincerity my sense of obligation to the members of the court for electing me to the high office of the Chancellor of the University. So we can say that Radhakrishnan was the chief guest in this ceremony of convocation, and he was also the vice chancellor of that university, and therefore being a vice chancellor, being the chief guest, he delivered this very important speech. He says that I appreciate the distinction of being your first elected chancellor under the provision of the New Delhi University Act. So, in the New Delhi University Act, or as per the act, he was elected or selected by the board of selection as the first chancellor. So, it was that we can say that a great position of Radhakrishnan in the university. It gives me very great pleasure to find that the first degree I confer as Chancellor is on my dear friend Sri C. Gopalachari. So it is the privilege for Radhakrishnan that he confer the first degree to his dear friend Sri Rama Gopalachari. We all are proud to admit him into our fellowship. So he says that we are proud, we are happy to admit him as our fellow. He is one of most illustrious administrators and statesman, well known for his common sense and grace, balance and judgment, qualities greatly needed in this confused age of conflicting standards. So Radhakrishnan also points out towards the confused age, because he says that after independence India is not in a clear cut position that what is the aim, what is the target of education in India. So he says that there are the conflicting standards in this higher education. The young men and women we are taking into degrees today have in him an example to guide them. It is the privilege of the convocation speaker to congratulate those who, by dint of a hard work and disciplined effort, have attained degrees and distinctions. So he says that the students who are passing out from this university, they are getting their degrees or the degree of graduation as well as post graduation with their hard work and efforts. My good wishes are with you. And I hope very much that the qualities of mind and character which have helped you in your university courses may continue to be with you in the larger life you are entering. So Radha Krishnan also says or addresses to the students who are getting the degrees of graduation and post graduation from the university in this convocation ceremony that you are entering in a large aspect of life, you are entering in the large social setup, and there are so many responsibility upon your shoulders, and you have to serve the country in various fields. So he is giving a very good advice, he is giving a very important advice to the students who are passing out from this university with their degrees. We cannot offer you prospectus of glittering prizes, even comfortable positions, but opportunities for silent, unobtrusive work and constructive service at there in the plenty. So Radhakrishnan says to the students that we are not offering you the glittering prizes after this graduation or post graduation, but we are giving you a chance to serve in the society, or we are giving you a chance to do constructive service in the society. It's a matter for great sorrow that there is not among our youth the sense of exhilaration, that release of energy, that buoyancy of spirit, and characterize great liberation movement. So here in these lines, Radhakrishnan says to the students that it is a great matter of sorrow that in our youth there is no exhilaration, there is no spirit of joy, happiness, or we can say there is no the spirit that characterize the great liberal movements. So this is the weakness of the modern students. Since the attainment of independence, we seem to have lost the inspiration of a great purpose. So the inspiration of great purpose is very important. After graduation and post graduation, the students should enter in the society with an objective, with the great inspiration for great purpose. So it's also a lacuna of higher education, and towards that lacuna, Dr. Radhakrishnan indicates many of us don't realize how radically our position in the world has altered. At the same time of the transfer of power, there were critics who felt that we would not survive the effect of partition, that our country would be broken to bits, that our administration would be disorganized, that there would be no rule of law, no security of life and property. So, Radhakrishnan also indicates towards the threats, towards the problems of India just after the independence, that we could not handle the country in proper way. So that is the political and social problem towards which Radhakrishnan indicates. All these critics have been confounded by the actual results. In the international world, where our standing is only of duration out, reputation for integrity, independence, love of peace is high, I may remind you of a statement made by a distinguished visitor to this country that India would rather die or commit suicide than submit to pressure or intimidation from any queue. So a visitor from outside of India also indicated towards the problems, towards the coming threats to independent India, that India has to face so many problems. So he also indicated towards these things that maybe so many not be so. At least we have won the team of other nations, but what we have done is very we can say low to compared to the vast undone. Political freedom has given us the great opportunity and the sacred responsibility building up a new India free from want and disease, rid of the care, the caste, the outcast, where women will enjoy the same right men, and where we shall live at peace with the rest of the world. The inspiration of such in India should sustain in you and your work ahead. So, in this way, in his speech, Radhakrishnan addresses to the students that there are so many responsibilities upon your shoulder, and you have to serve these responsibilities, you have to serve, cater out these responsibilities, and there will be so many political, social, economical problems in India. So you have to also deal with them. So in this way, there is a great responsibility upon the youth of India after coming out from their colleges and universities. So in this way, Radhakrishnan indicates towards the various responsibilities of the youth who is newly educated or newly graduated from the various universities. We are living through one of the great revolutionary period in human history. So he says that there is a great revolutionary period after Second World War, we can say that after independence of India, and this is a very crucial time, and this is a very revolutionary period in the human history. The revolutionary efforts spread over several centuries in other parts of the world are concentrated in a short span of time in our country. We are facing many sided challenges such as political, economical, social, cultural. So Radhakrishnan indicates towards the various challenges, various threats that are coming to before India after independence. Education is the means by which the youth is trained to serve the cause of drastic social and economical changes. So education is the tool. Education is the mean through which we can deal all the problems, all the challenges of the society. So it is the responsibility of education to guide, to train the students or the youth of India towards a right path, towards a right goal. Nations become back numbers if they don't reckon with the development of the age. So he indicates towards the challenges before the nations, that the nations who don't care about the problems, they will be back in the numbers. They will be, we can say, lagging behind. The industrial growth of our country requires a large number of scientists, technicians, and engineers. So, Radhakrishnan, being an educationist or being we can say a prophet, indicates towards the need of technicians, engineers, scientists into our country, because our country is moving towards industrialization or towards industrial and technological progress. So there will be a need of a large number of scientists and technicians and engineers, and this duty is also performed by educational institutions, because the scientists, the engineers, and we can say that technicians will be produced by these universities, and those engineers, technicians, and we can say scientists must be of merit, must be of great knowledge and standard. The rush in our universities for courses in science and technology is natural. So he indicates towards the rush, towards the, we can say, crowd of the students in the university for getting the various degrees in science and technology. Main trend in the practical courses help to increase productivity. So the persons who are in trend in productivity or trained properly, they will enhance the productivity, agricultural and industrial. They also hope to find employment easily, and in this way they can find employment if they are properly trained in the universities. To help the students to earn a livelihood is one of the functions of education. And he says that arthakari ka vidya, it means the aim of education uh, also the earning of livelihood, to earn money for livelihood. So it is also the aim of education, but it is not the sole aim, the only aim of education. Education has several targets, education has several aims to achieve, and one of them, it may be said that to earn livelihood is also the important, or we can say one of the most important objective of education, but it is not the only and one education aim of education. I don't believe, Radhakrishnan says that, I don't believe that scientific and technological studies are devoid of moral values. Very important guidance, very important suggestion, or we can say the moral advice is given to the students, that devoid of moral values, the education which is devoid of moral education is not important, is not of any use. So we can say that the knowledge of science and technology is very important for the students today, because it is the era of science and technology. But along with the scientific and technological knowledge, moral values are important. Without moral values, human life is not useful. So Radhakrishnan, being a great philosopher, being a great teacher, stresses upon the need of moral values in the syllabus of universities or in the teaching of universities. Science is both knowledge and power. He says that science gives us knowledge and power both, but it has interest as well as utility. Interest is also, utility is also. It is illuminating as well as fruitful. It is also illuminating, useful, fruitful. It demands disciplined devotion to the pursuit of truth. It develops in its votaries an attitude of tolerance. In the votaries means in the disciples, into the students or into the knowledge seekers. Science also develops the attitude of tolerance, open-mindedness, uh, freedom from prejudice, and hospitality to new ideas. So these things are catered into the students by the study of science and technology. Science reveals to us inexhaustible richness of the world, its unexpectedness, its wonder. So the wonder of nature, the undiscovered facts of nature are revealed before the students or before the humanity by science. So in this way, the study of science and technology is very important for the students. Nevertheless, these qualities are developed by science incidentally and not immediately. It doesn't directly deal with the non intellectual aspects of human nature. The economic man who produces and consumes, the intellectual man, the scientific man is not the whole man. So, in this way, Radhakrishnan says that the scientific and technological man is not a complete man. He is not a whole man without moral values. So, along with the scientific and technological knowledge, moral values are also very important. They are needed to be a perfect man, to be a perfect citizen in a country. The disproportionate emphasis on science and technology has been causing concern to thinking men all over the world. So, all over the world, there is a problem has emerged that without moral values, without we can say ethical values, the study of science and technology or the study is not so useful. So, it's a matter of concern for all the people all over the world. The great crimes against civilization are committed not by the primitive and the uneducated, but by the highly educated and the so-called civilized. So Radhakrishnan says that the crimes against the civilizations are not committed by the primitive or uneducated personalities, but by the so-called educated and civilized persons in the world. So it is a great challenge before the education. One recalls having that the most civilized state is no further from barbarism. The most polished steel is from rust. Scientists have now found means by which human life can be wiped off the surface of this planet. Of the many problems that now face the leaders of the world, none is graver consequences than the problem of saving the human race from extinction. Struggling as we are with the fateful horizon of an atom age, the achievements of science have induced in our mind a mood of despair, making us feel homeless, exile, caught in a blind machine. So, this is also a problem created by the sheer knowledge of science, or we can say this problem of, we can say that despair, the problem of depression, and the problem of aimlessness in the society is caused by the moralless education or the education devoid of moral or ethics. We are standing at the edge of an abyss or perhaps even sliding towards it. The Prime Minister of England in a recent speech contemplated, these are the words of Prime Minister of uh, England, I quote, we and all nations stand at this hour in human history before the portals of supreme catastrophe and measureless reward. Our measureless reward. Our faith is that in God's mercy we shall choose a right, in which case the annihilating character of these agencies may bring unutterable security to the human mind. To choose a right requires the civilization of heart, the intelligence. Escape from decline and catastrophe depends not on scientific ideas and material forces but on the perception and ideas of men and women on the moral judgment of the community. If we choose rightly, the achievements of science may lead to such a degree of material wealth, abundance of leisure as never before been possible in human history. This will be possible only if we achieve a revolution in the inner compulsion that controls us. So, in these lines, Radhakrishnan says that the inner control or self discipline is very important in a human being or in a man, and that self control, or we can say self discipline, is attained by proper education which we get in the colleges and universities. So, it is also the liability on the shoulders of educational institutions. He says that any satisfactory system of education should aim at the balanced growth of the individual and insist on both knowledge and wisdom. Very important thing, that balanced growth of an individual is very important. And the balanced growth of individual insists on both knowledge and wisdom. So knowledge and wisdom, these two things are very important in our education. Jnanam Vijnanam Sahityam. So Gyan Vigyan Sahitya. It means along with Vigyan, along with science, Sahityam, it means literature. The knowledge of man is also important. So science, literature, and the other subjects of humanities are equally important in the study of education in our educational institutions. It should not only train the intellect but bring great into the heart of man. It means the training or the development of the human heart is very important, and the inculcation of human values, moral values into the personality of a man is very important, and this is also the responsibility of our educational system or our educational institutions. Wisdom is more easily gained through the study of literature. So the study of literature is very important because knowledge that can be achieved by science and technology, but wisdom that is only achieved by the study of a literature, philosophy, religion. So literature, philosophy, and religion are also equally important along with science and technology. They interpret the higher laws of universe. So higher laws of universe, or we can say the basic laws of universe and human nature, can be interpreted, can be understood properly by the study of science, philosophy, and religion. Our minds will be confused and we will suffer from greed, pusillanimity, anxiety, defeatism. So it means if there will be no study of science, no study of the subject of humanity like religion, philosophy, and literature, then the person will be cowardice, the person will be, we can say, full of anxiety. He will suffer from the feeling of defeatism, depression, disappointment, and the feeling of greed will take place into the mind and heart of a person. So along with the study of science and technology, the study of humanities, the study of literature, religion, philosophy is also equally important. Mental slums are more dangerous. Very important advice to the students through this lecture, through this speech. He says that mental slums are more dangerous to mankind than the material slums. So mental slums, it means the person who is mentally retarded, the person who is mentally, we can say, uh, weak, is more dangerous than the person who is material, weak, who is poor in materialism. So mental slums are more dangerous than the material slums. So this is the advice, or the very important advice given by Dr. Radhakrishnan to the students of university who are getting the degrees, who are getting the diplomas from the universities and colleges. So this is, so the students, this is the first part of this essay, because the essay is a speech delivered by Radhakrishnan at the ceremony of convocation in his university. So it is a long speech. We have divided it into three parts so that we can study it in three parts easily. So this is the first part of this essay we have discussed, and we have also discussed the attitudes, the ideas of Radhakrishnan towards the education, and what kind of suggestion, what kind of advice he wants to give the newly graduated students. So this is the first part. In the next class, we will study the another part. Thank you very much for today.